Hello and welcome to this video. We will be discussing 10 tricks to understanding the use of pronouns. And by that, I'm referring to the subject pronouns, which are called nominative pronouns, and then the object pronouns, which are simply objective pronouns. Okay, so let's get started. Yeah, right here, right now. Trick number one. Trick number one doesn't sound much like a trick, but it is a trick if you're able to get it done. It's simply memorize the list of personal pronouns. And by that, I'm referring to the nominative pronouns, which you can see on the table to my left, and then the objective pronouns, which is on the right. Sounds like a lot of work, but there is a song that helps you memorize it better. In fact, I found the video on YouTube. I will link this video, in the description page for this video, so that you can listen to the song, memorize the song. It's sweet, it's simple, it's lovely. Maybe I should just sing it right here. It says, name the nominative pronouns. The nominative pronouns are I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they. Name the objective pronouns. The objective pronouns are me, you, him, it, us, you, them, bam. That's simple. So if you are able to memorize, perhaps with the help of that song, this list, then every other thing that you need to know regarding the use of pronouns will be easy. So that is the basic. It is the foundation. In fact, the first 3 tricks in this video are the basics, the foundation. Once you're able to understand those 3 basics, then every other thing in the use of pronouns becomes very simple. But before I move on to the next trick, I'd like to spotlight something. Yeah. So all the pronouns that have the letter M in them are actually objective pronouns. Now that is my discovery. Nobody taught me that anywhere, and I'm giving it to you right here on the platter. I think I should even patent that idea. So think about it. Them, for instance, ends with the letter M. Him ends with the letter M. Me doesn't end with the letter M, but it starts with the letter M. And whom ends with the letter M. Okay, so you see that these 4 pronouns are all object pronouns. So keep that in mind. If you come across a question and you're required to underline or highlight the objective pronoun, just look up for the pronouns that have the letter M in them. That's your answer. Okay, so now let's move on to trick number 2. Trick number 2 says what? Only nominative, meaning only subject pronouns, can perform an action in any given sentence. So, what do I mean by that? Take a look at this sentence, for instance. I bought some crayons. I bought some crayons. So, what is the action? The action is bought. Now, the question is, what or who is performing that action? Who bought something? In this sentence, I bought something. So it therefore means that the subject pronoun or the nominative pronoun in this sentence is I, because I is the one performing the action. Let's take a look at another example. Remember, once again, we're simply looking out for actions and we're trying to find out who performed that action. All right, so this one says, they come to my house. So ask yourself, what is the action? The action is come. Now, who performed that action? Who come, for want of a better word? Who come to my house? It is they come to my house. So they is definitely the subject or the nominative pronoun in this sentence. All right, now let's move on to trick number 3. Trick number 3 says object pronouns receive the action or they are affected by the action. They are not the ones who perform the action, but they receive the action. So let's take a look at examples to help with this particular one. So take a look at this cat staring at you, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, good. So here we go. This is the sentence. The cat stared at me. The cat stared at me. All right. In this particular sentence, granted, we have stared as the action, but we're not looking out for the person who performed the action. Rather, we're looking out for the person who was affected by the action. And that's who? Me. Me was affected by the action of the cat. So me is the object this time, because object pronouns don't perform an action. They are affected by the action. Another example, go and chase them. I think this is a no-brainer if you remember the spotlight that I mentioned earlier. If you're looking out for the object pronoun, simply look out for that pronoun that ends with the letter M or has the letter M in it. But let's still simply follow this rule that says we're looking out for what? For the person who's affected by the action. Now the action is chase, or we also have go, but let's just stick to the latter one, which is chase. So chase, who is being chased, or who is that action affected? Them is the part or the object of the sentence, which is being affected by the verb chase. So the object of that verb is them. All right, so I need to move on. So we're moving on away from the basics now to we're going a bit more technical. Now, the next set of tricks I'll be showing you will come to play when you have sentences where you have double nominatives or double objectives. Now, this is a bit more technical, so I need you to pay attention. All right, here we go. Trick number 4 says you break the sentence in the case where you have double objectives or double subject pronouns in a sentence, and you're required to, choose. So here we go, break the sentence. How do you do that? So take a look at this sentence, for instance. He, him, and I, me, can dance, but you and she, her, cannot. So what do you choose between he, him, I, me, she, her? Now, just at a glance, it's very possible that you would just simply go, he and me, or him and me can dance, but you and her cannot, or you and she cannot, if you think. Okay, but don't be quick to just choose. What you do is you break the sentence. So how do you do that? Like this. He can dance. Does that make sense? Yes, it does make sense. I can dance. Does that make sense? I believe it does make sense. You cannot dance. Even though that's not what we're looking for anyway, but it makes sense to put it there. She cannot dance. Now, if all of these make sense, it therefore means that him can dance should not make sense. Me can dance should not make sense. Her cannot dance should not make sense, right? I'm sure you agree it doesn't make sense. So, since these ones make sense, therefore, we can put them together to say the answer to the question is what? He and I can dance, but you and she cannot. Simple. You get that? So you break the sentence and that leads you to where you're going. All right. Next, when do you pick the subject pronoun? So if you have questions where you are required to, you're given options between object and subject. Now, there are certain tricks that help you to know that at every given time, whenever you see a question appear like this, you always pick the subject pronoun. Now, these are the tricks. Trick number 5 says, pick the subject pronoun after the word as or the word than. Now that's my trick. Almost every time, mark the word almost every time you see the word as or than in a sentence, you are required to pick the subject pronoun after it. So here we go. Examples. Let's practice with this. So the sentence says, he is as smart as I, me. Remember, what was the trick? After the word as, what are you supposed to pick? You pick the subject pronoun. If by now you have memorized the table of the pronouns, whether it's the nominative and the subject and the nominative and the object pronouns, if by now you've memorized, I'm sure that you should be able to identify which one is the subject pronoun between I and me. And also, if you remember that trick where the spotlight, where I told you that every pronoun that has the letter M in it is definitely an object pronoun. Therefore, you know that me is the object pronoun. So we know that I is the subject pronoun. All right, so I just need to put that out there. So he is as smart as I, me. Remember, we're going for what? The subject pronoun after the word as. Therefore, the answer is what? He is as smart as I. It doesn't sound correct, right? He's as smart as I. I'm sure that by now you probably were used to saying he's as smart as me. It makes sense that way, right? Because you've been saying the wrong thing all along. Actually, there is an invisible word after it, and that word is am. But many times we don't include it, or in many questions we don't include the word am. It certainly doesn't make sense to say he's as smart as me am. All right, so he's as smart as I am, right? But we removed the word am. So we just leave it as he's as smart as I, and that's correct. That's actually grammatically correct. All right, so let's move on. Another practice, we say you are taller than than he, him. Remember, what are you supposed to go for? You're going for the subject pronoun after the word than. After the word than, you're supposed to pick the subject pronoun. So it's a no-brainer. Him is an object pronoun. If you remember the spotlight, it ends with the letter M. So we know that our subject pronoun is what? He. So your sentence should be, you are taller than he. Exactly. Many times before now, you probably had said you are taller than him. That's incorrect. The correct grammar is you're taller than he, because in actual fact, like I said before in the previous slide, there is an invisible word, and that is. So you're taller than he is. If it doesn't make sense to say you're taller than him is, so we should know that the answer should be you're taller than he is. So after the subject pronoun, after the word than, you're supposed to pick the subject pronoun. All right. Now, there are exceptions. That's the thing about English language. There are usually exceptions to some of these rules. Okay, so now, this is my own trick, and there are exceptions to it. Now, take a look at this sentence. She likes you as much as me. She likes you as much as me. It makes sense. It is correct, actually. It is correct. I know that I have told you that the trick is after the word as, you're supposed to pick the subject pronoun. But in this particular case, I have picked the object pronoun me, because it means she likes you just as she likes me. Exactly. So that makes sense. In that case, you need to look out for context, the context in which some pronouns are used. All right. Or take a look at this. She likes you more than me. Meaning she likes you more than she likes me. All right. So you get the idea. Now, even though this is correct and we have gone for the object pronouns, it doesn't mean that if we go for the subject pronouns, it will not be correct. So take a look at this. She likes you as much as I. That is making sense as well, because there is an invisible do. That means she likes you and I like you too. All right. Or take a look at this. She likes you more than I. If you remember that there's a do after that, so it should be she likes you more than I do. That means she likes you, but she likes you more. Or she likes, meaning I like you rather, but she likes you more. You get that? Now, if it sounds confusing, just simply rewind and listen again. All right, and then think about it. You will know that it is correct. All right, so let's move on to the next trick. Trick number 6. We're still talking about when you are to pick the subject pronouns. Tricks that let you know, oh, at this point, I'm supposed to pick the subject pronoun. So this one says you pick the subject pronoun after a to-be complement or a to-be verb complement. All right, and what are the to-be verb complements? We have words like it was, it is, it seems to be, it appears to be. All of these are to-be complement of the verb, complement of the verb to be. All right, so let's take a look at practices, examples to give a better understanding of this. So we say, it was Dash who stole the pencil. Should you say it was he who stole the pencil, or it was me who stole, or him rather, who stole the pencil? Okay, so remember once again, we're looking out for what? Only the subject pronoun whenever we have this particular phrase, it was. So our subject pronoun between he and him is therefore he. If you remember the spotlight, every word that ends, every pronoun that ends with the letter M is an object pronoun. So it means that the other option we have is a subject pronoun. So we say what? It was he who stole the pencil. Exactly. So that is grammatically correct. Another example, it seems to be Dash whom you should suspect. Remember, once again, after the to-be verb complement, you are supposed to go for the subject. All right, so it seems to be they. That's the answer. It seems to be they whom you should suspect. As you can see, this person is grimacing. Suspect. All right, so let's move on. All right, so we're spotlighting. This trick still applies if the expression is flipped as a question. So I know we have it was. So what if we flip it as was it? Or we have it is. What if we flip it as is it? It still applies when you flip it as a question. So take a look at this example. Was it I? Not was it me? Did you get that? Was it I whom you saw at the mall? Did you get that? So if it is flipped as a question, the trick still applies. All right. So now we're moving on to when you pick the object pronoun. So those tricks, the last 2 tricks that I showed you, are tricks that help you know when to pick subject pronouns. Now, when do you pick object pronouns? So trick number 7, pick an object pronoun after prepositions. Immediately after prepositions, you're supposed to pick object pronouns. And after the word let. Yeah, after that verb let. So let's practice, for instance. Don't you like this? Oh my goodness. If you're Nigerian, I'm sure you should know this. This is Mama. Oh, I have an affinity for this. Anyway, let me not be salivating in my video. Let's go on. So take a look at this sentence. Between dash and dash, who ate the whole Mama? So between he, him, and I, me, who ate the whole Mama? Let's find out. What do you do? Remember, what does the rule say? The trick, rather, says you're to pick the object pronouns after prepositions like between. So between, we're looking for the object between he and him. What is the object? Him. You've said it. It has the letter M. Exactly. Between him and me, we ate the whole Mama. That's it. So between him and me, we ate the whole Mama. That's what we have as the answer. Let's practice another. That's a portmanteau. We don't see it around anymore, right? Other than in the recent Big Brother, Nigeria. Okay, so that portmanteau is not for they, them, but for we, us. Remember, you're supposed to pick what? The object pronoun after prepositions. We have the preposition for here, and we have another for there. So after the preposition, you're supposed to pick the object pronoun. So that portmanteau is not for, which one's the object? Them, but for, which is the object? Between we and us. It is actually us, exactly. So that portmanteau is not for them, but for us. That's it. Okay, now let's move on to trick number 8. Indefinite pronouns don't have a specific gender. Now this time we're not picking subject or object pronouns. Now, just pay attention. Indefinite pronouns don't have a specific gender. All right, so you need to take note about that. Now, what are indefinite pronouns? If you don't know it, let me just list it for you. All right, so we have everyone, someone, none, somebody, one, everybody, something. There are more. Okay, all of these things or all of these pronouns simply don't specify things or people. That's why we call them indefinite, meaning not definite. It's not specific. I can just simply say, I need one pencil. I didn't specify what color of pencil it is. Okay, so it's indefinite. All right, so they don't have a specific gender. So take a look at this question, for instance, and see if you can think around the answer. All right, so it says everyone must pay dash own bus fare. Okay, everyone is the indefinite pronoun here. We did not specify whether we're referring to boys or girls, male or female. We're simply saying everyone. So it doesn't have a specific gender. So how do you figure it out? Do you say everyone must pay their own bus fare? It sounds easy, or it sounds like, you know, the easy way out to go for their. But we said everyone, so that's a singular subject. I'm sure if you pay attention to the other video that I have made on Concord, that subject-verb agreement, you will know why you should not say there, because there is actually plural. Meanwhile, the subject of the sentence is singular. It says everyone, so it's one person. Therefore, with this, you know that you should not say everyone must pay their own bus fare. You should say everyone must pay his or her. So like I said, it is not definite. The gender is not definite. The gender is not specified. So you will simply, you know, play on the side of caution before you choose an answer here. Or if you have this example that says no one is to drop her or their trash on the floor. Okay, so once again, you know that you shouldn't go for their, because we did not it's not, of course, it's a singular subject, all right, no one, and we have not specified the gender. But you see that in this particular case, we're given only one gender. We're given the female gender by her. Therefore, the assumption is whoever's made the speech is talking to a room or a hall full of girls. It's expected that there's no boy there. So it's easy to say no one is to drop her trash on the floor. Do you get the idea? All right, so now there's a word of caution. There's a word of caution for the pronoun or the indefinite pronoun one. This indefinite pronoun, one. You must be careful. In this case, you don't pick the gender. In this case, you simply maintain one. So take a look at the example. It says, one must be careful with dash belongings in this ghetto. You don't say one must be careful with his belongings in this ghetto. Rather, you say one must be careful with one's belongings in this ghetto. So that's a simple rule. When you have one, even if it's a room full of only one gender, in this example, we have only male. So you simply say one. One is one. You maintain one all through. All right. Okay, so now let's move on to trick number 9. We are just one more trick away. Okay, so trick number 9 says, when do you choose who or whom? So yeah, it is a tricky trick. So you need to pay attention to this. When do you choose who or whom? Now you ask yourself the question, you make a choice by asking yourself the question, who or what is to be represented? If you're supposed to represent a subject, if you're supposed to pick a subject, or rather you pick a subject, if what is to be represented is a subject, then you pick who. If what is to be represented is an object, then you pick whom. So this therefore means that you must have paid attention before now to the parts where we explain what a subject is and what an object is. The subject, remember, is the one who is performing the action, while an object is the one that the action is happening to, or is being affected by the action. So you ask yourself, whatever is to be represented by who or whom, is that thing performing the action, or is that thing being affected by the action? So let's take a look at examples for the sake of illustration. For instance, we say, who or whom is knocking at the door? Pay attention. What is the verb? Knocking. Somebody is performing this action, knocking. So the person who's performing the action is the person we intend to represent by the pronoun who or whom. Remember? Exactly. So the pronouns in parentheses, that's who or whom, is to be representing, is supposed to be used to represent the person who is currently performing that action, knocking. So therefore, we're looking for the subject. The person performing the action, knocking, is the subject. So you definitely go for the subject, who. And if you remember that spotlight I mentioned earlier, every pronoun that ends with the letter M is an object pronoun. And we're looking for the subject in this case, so we go for who. So the answer is who is knocking at the door. But if you go for this, if you look at this example, this sentence says, who or whom did caller see at the scene? In this particular example, caller is the one performing the action, pardon me. Caller is the subject of the sentence. What we're looking to represent the caller's sight. Caller saw some people. Now, these people did not perform the action. Rather, caller is the one who's performing the action, see. All right, so we are looking to represent the object this time of caller's sight. So the answer is what? Whom did caller see at the scene? All right, so that gives you a better idea of what to do. I'm not done exhausted this trick yet, okay? Because like I said, it's a tricky trick. So one more example. We say in this particular example, was it I, who or whom you gave the book to? Was it I, who or whom you gave the book to? Now, don't assume because there is a nominative I in this particular sentence that, and of course, this particular I must be here because it refers to trick number 6 where we say was it or it was. After was it or it was, you're supposed to pick the nominative. So don't assume that because we have picked the nominative or the subject here, we therefore must pick the nominative throughout. No. Right, the trick number 6 ends once I is picked. Whatever applies to who or whom still functions with trick number 9. And you need to read the rest of the sentence to determine whether you're to pick who or whom. So don't simply fall for that. So always ask yourself that golden question. What is to be represented? Is it a subject or an object? Now, was it I, who or whom you gave the book to? So it means you is the one who's performing the action gave the book to someone. Now, this someone is receiving the action. That therefore means that someone is the object of the action gave. You get that? So you're looking for the object of the sentence. So your object, therefore, is whom. So your sentence reads, was it I whom you gave the book to? I believe you have a better understanding now. Great. If you don't, you can always email me. I'll put my email at the end of this video. All right, so trick number 10. What to do with either or, neither nor. This is another tricky trick. So you need to pay attention. All right, so what do? You have either of two options. Number one, you either maintain the same pattern or you do what? You use the subject that is mentioned last. the subject that is mentioned last will determine whether you have a singular or a plural answer, a plural subject or a plural pronoun to pick. All right, let's take a look at the example. Here we go. If you're maintaining the same pattern, this is what you do. Either he or she knows what, should you say they, or should you say he or she is or are saying? All right, so take a look at it. The sentence starts with he or she. So it's simply either he or she. We can't say what they are doing because we say it's either he. Meaning if you pick him or you pick her per time, you would definitely have to keep going for him or her. So that's what you do. Either he, singular, or she knows what he or she is saying. You wouldn't say are saying, all right? This still refers to the subject-verb agreement, which is a video that I have done, so you need to watch it. All right, so it says either he or she knows what he or she is saying. You get that? So that's how you go for your answer. All right. Now, if you're going for the other option, which says using the last subject mentioned, let's take a look at an example. It says neither he nor they carry dash end of the load. So would you say neither he nor they carry his end of the load? No, in this particular case, the last subject mentioned is they. So that determines which pronoun you pick. So neither he nor they carry their end of the load. That's what you go for. Neither he nor they carry their. So in this case, you ignore everything from neither to nor, like I mentioned in the subject-verb agreement video. You simply say they carry their end of the load. So that's what determines your answer. All right. So let's see whether we can practice. Let's see whether we can practice some quick things, quick tricks. Okay, good. All right. So here we go. We say in this particular one, we say we or us boys were at the school shop at the same time as they or them. All right, now this particular question carries 10 points. Let's see how we do. All right, remember, what do we do? So we say, you break the sentence. You say, we were at the school shop at the same time as they. Now, there should be another word at the end of this, they were. So it's an invisible word. So you say, we were at the school shop at the same time as they were. So our answers are what? We and they. Next one, between. Now remember that trick. Whenever you have between, what do? You pick the object pronoun. So between I and me, that's which one is the object? Me is the object. Okay, good. So between you and me, Jude knows all about Shade, and still pick the object again. Her is the object. Thank you very much. So we say between you and me, I know all about Shade and her. All right. So number 3 says everyone that wants a bite must first raise dash hand. All right. So remember, everyone is an indefinite pronoun. Everyone is an indefinite pronoun. And the trick for indefinite pronoun simply says you don't pick a particular gender, or you don't even go for the plural. You simply maintain the singular because it says everyone. So everyone that wants a bite must raise his or her hand. That's the answer. All right. It appears to be dash, but dash, you should be concerned. All right. So it appears to be. Remember, this is the to be verb complement. All right. So, and what do you do when you say to be verb complement? You pick the subject. So you automatically pick the subject here. So it appears to be she. About. About is a preposition. And remember, that trick says after a preposition, you're supposed to pick the object pronoun. So it appears to be she about whom you should be concerned. So we say what? It appears to be she. She and whom are the answers here. All right. And then the number 5 question, it says, either the boy or his mother know or knows what he or she has hidden in the evidence. So either the boy or his mother, either or, what do? You know what? Remember, you simply do what? You go for the last subject mentioned. All right, so either the boy or his mother. So you simply, his mother knows what? He or she. It would not be they, all right? He or she, exactly. All right, he or she has hidden in the evidence, or where he or she has hidden the evidence, rather. So knows where he or she has. That's the answer. Number 6, who or whom is singing? It's I, me. All right. The person who's performing the action is the subject of that sentence. So it's what? Who is singing? It is, not it's. All right. So it is. It's the one with the contraction. It is I. Remember, after the to be verb complement, it is. You're supposed to pick what? The subject. So it is I. So who is singing? It is I. All right. Then number 7. Jerry is the boy. Jerry is the boy dash we saw dancing. Now, Jerry is the object of our sight. All right. So he is the boy whom we saw. We saw is the saw here is the is the verb. So we saw someone dancing. So that means this person is the object of our sight. It's the boy whom we saw dancing. Number 8, my mother gave Amina and Dash 1,000 naira for Christmas. So my mother gave Amina and should it be my mother gave we? It doesn't make sense. My mother gave us, exactly. So remember, you break the sentence. My mother gave Amina, my mother gave us, exactly. So number 9, the governor and I inspected all the work he, him had done. All right, so you break the sentence once again. The governor inspected the work, I inspected the work, exactly. So I is the answer here. Inspected all the work he had done. Somebody performed an action, so it's I, and the governor and I inspected all the work he had done, I, he. And the last question, was it, okay, pardon me. All right, so was it I, or was it he, him, or they, them who found the lost cat? All right, so was it, remember when you have was it, what are you supposed to pick? You pick the subject pronoun. So was it he or they who found the lost cat? So that's our answer here. Then the last question now, pardon me. I discussed with he or him and she or her about whom to nominate for the position. So you say what? I discussed with. I discussed with. With is a preposition here, so you go for the object. All right, so I discussed with him and her. You still use the preposition. About is still a preposition. Whom. Exactly, so we have um, objects all through. So I discussed with him, no, this is the answer. I discussed with him and her about whom to suspect. All right, about whom to nominate for the position. All right, this is optional, so we can skip it and then we submit. Let's see, how well did we perform? All right, view results, 100, fantastic. Exactly. So that brings us to the end of this particular exercise. These are references where a lot of ideas were called from, and the pictures were gotten from Unsplash and some from Google Images. Are there any other tricks you would like me to break down for you, or rather any other topics you'd like me to break down for you? No, I'm a person of tricks. I got lots of tricks. All right, so are there any other topics you'd like me to break for you in tricks? All right, especially in English grammar, just communicate it in the comment section and I will work around it for you. You deserve it. I take joy in making things simple. That's why I'm a teacher. All right, so if you need to contact me, like I said before, you can use this email address, that's lecky@penspeakers.com, or you can just connect with me on social media. That's my social media handle in many of these other social media pages. All right, so it'll be nice to hear from you. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Thank you very much. Have fun. Goodbye.